Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to look at one of my favourite trades that we have in the MTPredictor software program, and it's what I call our Holy Grail trade setup. I've given it the nickname of Holy Grail not because it's right or it's the most accurate trade setup. It's because it has the largest profit potential for the smallest initial risk, and I'll show you why in this this example here, and this is why I like it the best. What is it? Well, a Holy Grail trade setup is where we are trying to trade in Elliott wave terms the wave 3. In other words, we're trying to catch the end of a wave 2 to then trade the wave 3. The reason we like this is because the wave 3 is the strongest and longest wave in a completed 5-wave sequence, therefore has the largest profit potential. So let's see how we go about this. Well, here's a good example on the NASDAQ 3-minute from yesterday, which was the 13th of October. If you can see, we had a history triangle here. The reason we had a history triangle is because we actually had a double top at this particular level here. But if I go in and right mouse click on this red cell bar here, do analysis, this is our TS3 cell setup. Now a TS3 cell setup is from an ABC correction. It wasn't stopped out because if I look at what the high of that bar there was, the high was 79.75. Our stop trigger would have been at 80, so it's basically a double top, so it wouldn't have been stopped out. So let's see how we define this as a Holy Grail trade setup. Well, what are we looking for to start with? Well, because MTPredictor uses my unique isolation approach to Elliott wave, in other words, we're only looking for Elliott wave swings in isolation, what we're looking for is to define the high here as what we call an important high. If we can define this as an important high, then we know that the initial swing of the start of a sequence, in other words, off an important high, would be a wave 1. The initial correction would be a wave 2. We know from Elliott wave theory that wave 2s tend to subdivide into a minor ABC, which is exactly what we have here for our TS3 setup. We then look to trade it as if it's a wave 3, and this is where the Holy Grail part comes in, is because we're not looking to come out at our first target here, which would only be a minimum wave C projected target. We're looking to come out at our typical wave 3 WPT here, which you see the market reached it at about 2:30 in the afternoon. So we grab and drag our risk reward lines and we come down to here, and this would be our target. Now you can see why I like the Holy Grail trade setup. It's because when we use our correct position sizing, I'll just change that to a $20,000 account, which I've got here, we calculate the number of lots, contracts or shares, or contracts in this case, to keep our initial risk small and under control, in this case less than 2% of a sample $20,000 account. But the beauty of the Holy Grail is because this is a wave 3, the profit is large in relation to the initial risk. As you can see here, when the market reached this profit target, the profit was just over 9, or almost 9.5 times greater than the initial risk. In other words, you're turning an initial risk of approximately $385 into a profit of approximately $3,600, or approximately 9 times greater. That's why this is such a good trade setup, is because it has such a large profit potential in relation to the initial risk. So okay, how do we know this is a wave 2? Well, a wave 2 is the initial correction off the initial move off an important high. So of course we have to then decide whether this is an important high. So how do we do this? Well, in MTPredictor we go to the higher time frame chart. If I go to the 15-minute chart, we tend to look at the higher time frame being a time frame 3 to 5 times higher than you're trading. So if you're trading a 3-minute chart, the 15-minute chart is the next most obvious area. So over here we go back to the previous pivot high. Now I just want to turn training mode on, so I want to show how these levels can be on your chart in advance. So just after the market opened on the 13th, we go back to the last major high, which was up here, which was the high of the day on the 12th of October. You can see there's a nice pivot high. Right mouse click, select decision point, and there it is on the chart in advance. This is an important thing. These levels are leading, they're on the chart in there in advance, ready before the market gets there. If I now turn training mode off, you can see that the market actually rallied up to that level, and that made the high of the day. So you were prepared in advance for a level that actually caught the high of the day yesterday. If we come down to a 3-minute chart, we can see how it looked. There you are. the 15-minute DP, nailing the high of the day perfectly. But more importantly, because of our Holy Grail trade setup, we know that because the 3-minute chart is making resistance at making a reversal at a higher time frame resistance, we can define this as an important high. In other words, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for support and resistance on the higher time frame chart. So therefore, in Elliott wave terms, or more particularly my unique isolation approach to Elliott wave, we can then start our Elliott wave sequence from there. We're then looking for this initial decline to be a wave 1. We're then looking for the initial correction, which subdivides into an ABC, to be wave 2. And therefore, after a wave 2, we're looking for a wave 3. That's how we can then change our profit target from here down into the typical wave 3 WPT, which is here, and that then generates a profit which is much larger than the initial risk. So as you can see, a great trade setup yesterday, but all set up because we knew that this was an important high, and we knew that this level was an area where resistance was likely to happen. It was even better yesterday because if I look at the ES made its high of the day right at its 15-minute DP resistance up there. The YM did exactly the same, made its high of the day at its 15-minute resistance. Of course, from that we then know that the large degree trend is down. So you'll be avoiding that TS4 sell, buy, but taking this TS4 sell later in the day. So you would have had a nice trade on the YM yesterday. But the point I'm making is that we knew basically earlier in the day, around about the 11:15 time around here, we knew that the YM was at large degree resistance, the ES was at large degree resistance, and the NQ was also at large degree resistance. In other words, all three USE minis were doing exactly the same thing at the same time. That gave you high confidence that a high was coming in and the market was going to reverse and then decline from there. That then started the sequence: wave 1 down, wave 2 up, ABC correction into our tier 3 setup. Position sizing kept the initial risk small. We're then expecting a decline into the typical wave 3 WPT, and as you can see, the result was a profit of approximately 9.5 times greater than the initial risk. This is why the MTPredictor Holy Grail trade setup, as I've nicknamed it here, is one of my favourite trade setups, because I believe it's one of the best setups because it has the potential to have a very large profit in relation to a small initial risk. So I think that's a very, very good trade setup, and an absolutely perfect example on the NQ yesterday.